A very good morning to all of you. Today we are going to discuss about the Code of Civil Procedure 1908, and the topic for today is introduction about the Code of Civil Procedure. This will be a PPT presentation and I will be dealing with certain points which are of immense importance with regard to CPC is concerned. Let's come to the first slide. When did this particular act came into being, into existence? The CPC came into existence in the year 1909, but it was finalized in the year 1908. And it is also known as the law of procedure. Why it is known as the law of procedure? Because it provides the procedure through which one can have the remedy in the court of law. Now the second question, which is of immense importance, is what do you mean by three words? That is CPC, Code of Civil Procedure. There are three particular words which needs elaborations, and the same are as under. C for civil. What do you mean by civil? Civil, which is in contrast with criminal, or in other words, it is a right. It means private individuals whereby they can invoke the law through which they can get their remedies against each other. Procedure. Next word is P. P for procedure. Procedure means which is not substantive. I will give further elaboration in my subsequent slides about the word substantive and procedure in the later on. Now the third word, that is the code, very important word. It's Code of Civil Procedure. The code is defined under CPC, but it has not been defined under the other procedural law, that is CRPC. So what do you mean by code as defined under CPC? It says it means or it includes rules. This is defined under section 2(1) of the CPC. This is the definition clause of the CPC. Now the next very important question, what is the act number? As you all are known, in what particular this particular law act has been enacted, that is the act year came into being. And the second is what is the act number? So the legislator with that particular point of time, or the authorities concerned at that particular material time, they have given this number as number 5. So this act number is, if you don't remember the name of the law, but if you remember the act number, then it may help you in searching the law at that particular point of time. Now the second question, very important from the examination point of view, or from the quiz point of view, or from the judicial services PT is concerned, if the students are going to prepare for judiciary, this is one of the best questions over there. The date of enforcement of this particular law is 1/1/1909. Next question is, what is the relationship between the constitutional law and the CPC? As you all are aware, there are every law is to be touched, or its validity is to be touched upon the constitutional law. Constitutional law is the fundamental law of the land, on the basis of which the other laws are being tested. So what is constitutional law? In other words, as per the Kelson, you may refer it from him also. I have referred it from the definition of the Kelson. Constitutional law is the grand norm, and on the basis of which the constitutional validity of any other law is to be decided upon. as the constitutional validity of 1999 amendments to the CPC. Later on, after the commencement of this act in the 1909, there are amendments in the year 1999 and 2002, whereby these amendments were challenged in the Supreme Court of India, and they were challenged and they were decided, and the constitutional validity of the same is to be challenged in the Supreme Court. And Supreme Court, after going through the reports and all the previous material available with the Supreme Court, held it in its favor. Now the second question, which is of immense importance, is what do you mean by law? Law means, law includes, as per the definition of the, as per its definition given under the constitutional law also, it includes ordinance, rules, notification, Supreme Court or High Court judgments. But as far as the law definition is concerned, it is an inclusive definition which is given under the Constitution. So, but as far as the one straight away definition of law is concerned, it has not been accepted by the jurists so far in regard to this definition of law. Hence, it can be said that it is a means by which law and order can be maintained in the society. So it is a means by which law and order can be maintained in this society. And how that can be maintained? Now come to the next slide. As far as the law is concerned, there are two, it can be divided into two parts. One is substantive law and another is procedural law. As I have given you, as I have told you in my first slide, that it is a procedural law. Now I am coming to this particular slide. How will you determine the rights and how one can approach the court? The substantive law is a law whereby certain rights and liabilities are conferred upon the parties. You can find it under the constitutional law also. Certain fundamental rights have been conferred upon the citizens of this particular country, which determines the rights of the parties, and also it confers the duties on the parties as well. Similarly, as in the case of DPSP, which confers the duties on the state. And it is also the duty of the state to protect the rights of the citizens and thereby not to infringe the rights. So Article 14 to 31, we may say that these are substantive rights, but their rights can be nothing without procedure or without there being a remedy for it in case of infringement by the other party. So thereafter, the Article 32 on the Article 226 and Article 227, these are the certain provisions under the constitutional law, which we may refer them as the procedural law aspect, whereby the procedure and the machinery for the enforcement of those rights have been given under the law. Now I will give you certain examples. Indian Contract Act. If a party is entered into a contract, and in case of the breach of the other party, as per the substantive law of the country is concerned, as per the provisions of the Indian Contract Act, the party whose right has been infringed, he is entitled to damages or as the compensation, or the compensation as the case may be. But in which court this particular matter is to be filed, which court is having the jurisdiction to try it, or what is the pecuniary limit of the courts, how the other party is to be called upon by the court, what is the procedure for it. But if that other party does not appear in the court, so these are certain aspects of the procedural law which are given under the civil law or the CPC. And if it is a case of criminal law, these procedures are given under the CRPC. So these are the examples of substantive law as well as examples of procedural law. Now, the next question which I want to place it before you is that procedural law is based upon which maxim? So it is based upon the maxim of law, and that maxim is ubi just ibi remedium. Where there is a right, there is a remedy. So there must be right, and in case the other party has infringed its right, then there must be remedy. Without remedy, there can be no right. For example, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, in the while he was framing the or drafting the Constitution of India, one of the question arose before him was, which provision as per you is known to be as the heart and soul of the Constitution of India? So thereafter, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar replied at that particular point of time that as per me, Article 32 of the Constitution is the heart and soul of the Constitution of India, and not the Article 14 or 21 as the case may be, because this particular Article 32 provides the remedy in case of the infringement of the fundamental right of any citizen or of any person, as the case may be. Next point. But if, as you all are aware, there are certain number of provisions in the Constitution of India which provides, there is a scheme which is given under the Constitution of India which is relevant for the point of view of your quiz point of view. So there are certain number of schemes which are provided, like what are the total number of orders, what are the total number of sections, what are the total parts, and what are the total schedules given in the Constitution of, in the CPC. The total number of orders in the CPC are 51, total sections in the CPC are 158, total parts in the CPC are 11, and total schedules in the CPC are concerned is 1. Now, as you all are aware, this is a unique law which has both sections and orders, and orders is having further divided into rules. So what is the need of it? The need of it is sections are made by the legislature, and the orders as per section 129 CPC, the rules are carrying out by the high courts concerned. As you all are known about the doctrine of separation of power under Article 50 of the Constitution, Parliament has been conferred with the power of making law. So therefore the Parliament has made the law, and concerned rules have also been made. But if there are certain rules which are exist in one particular state, and how those rules can be amended, or what if while applying the procedure which is laid down by the Parliament is not suitable to the needs of the court, then that particular thing has been referred to by section 129, and that thing has been corrected by 129, whereby this particular power of making the rules have been conferred upon the high courts concerned. So as far as the, if I would like to say in few words, sections are maybe known as the substantive portion, and orders may be referred to as the procedural portion. Now, the second question which comes to my mind is, what is the object of CPC? The object of the CPC is to consolidate and amend the law relating to procedure of court of civil judicature. So that means it consolidates the law into one law. From this particular object, you may refer to the word codification under the legal history as well. So there is a clear interlinking between the legal history aspect and the CPC is concerned, because that was the need for the codification is to bring the uniformity of law with regard to civil judicature in one law. Whereas, as you all are aware, under the Hindu law, it was divided into several parts. For applicability to Muslims, the procedure is different, and for Britishers, the law is different. Therefore, to bring the uniformity, the object is to consolidate and amend the law relating to the courts, procedure of the courts of civil judicature in one law. So that was the object behind incorporating CPC. Now, the second question which comes to my mind is, what if the provisions of sections of CPC and the orders of CPC may come in conflict with each other, and what will be its effect? As you all know about that under the Constitution of India, there is a doctrine of repugnancy under Article 254 of the Constitution. If the central law infringes this, if the state law is infringing the central law, then in that case the central law will prevail over the state law. But there are certain exceptions there too, under which the state law may prevail over the central law. But as far as the CPC is concerned, in case of inconsistency between the CPC and the orders, then in that case the sections will prevail over the orders. Why? What is the reason behind it? The reason behind it is that it is the duty of the legislature to make the law, whereas as far as you are all known that the rules under the power of rule making, that under section 129, that is conferred with the high courts, so that must be subject to the section part. And secondly, as far as in case of conflict between the substantive law and the procedural law, and as you all know about that sections are the substantive law and orders are the procedural law, therefore sections will prevail over the orders. Sections is the substantive law and orders are the procedural law. So therefore substantive law will prevail over the procedural law in case of inconsistency between the both of them. Now, the next question, very, very important again, how far the CPC does applicable to the special laws. This is also very, very important. As you all are known about, there are certain special laws. For example, Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996, which have been recently enacted a new law or amended by 2015 law. So how far the provisions of CPC would applicable to Arbitration and Conciliation Act? So the law is generally the CPC will apply to special laws unless and until the special law expressly or impliedly barred the applicability of CPC. That means in case of if there is no provision under the special law, then general law of CPC would be applicable. But if there are certain provisions whereby you may infer that the procedure is itself laid down under the special law, then in that particular circumstance, we may say that the special law will prevail over the general law. Now I will come to the next important point. What is the history of Code of Civil Procedure? So first, as you all known about, that previously there are Hindu laws, Muslim laws, and there are certain provisions which are applicable to Britishers. So all are governed by different laws. As Britishers are governed by equity, justice, and good conscience, and Muslim law are governed by their personal laws, and Hindus are governed by their own personal laws. And it depends upon the king how he would apply the law. So to bring the uniformity, it was in the year of the 1859, the first uniform procedure code was adopted. But it has certain provisions which are not applicable to the Supreme Courts in the presidency towns as well as the provincial small causes court. As such, it needs amendment. And further, there was an enactment in New York Civil Code, which have been found to be more elaborate than that of the current CPC, which was governed at that particular point of time, that is 1859 code. And at that particular time, Dr. Whitley Stokes recommended for the change or the adoption of the new law, and hence in the year 1877 a new CPC was enacted. But within 2 years of the applicability of this particular law in 1879, more than 130 sections were amended as per the need of the society. As such, a new select committee was formed under the chairmanship of Sir Earl Richards, and hence a new legislation was introduced a new legislation was introduced with regard to the Code of Civil Procedure. So this is all about the introduction part of CPC is concerned. We will come up with the certain new PPTs with regard to further development of the subject, like nature and scope and so on and so forth, in subsequent videos of mine. Thank you very much.